This is Venice in the 1700s. A city frozen in time, reconstructed using AI from the paintings of Canaletto, Guardi, and other masters. This is La Serenissima in its final, glamorous days before everything changed forever. The Grand Canal, the main artery of the city, is teeming with traffic. While today there are about 400 gondolas in Venice, in the 1700s, over 10,000 plied these waters. They weren't just for tourists. They were the taxis, limousines, and trucks of a city built on water. Most were owned privately by noble families, with their own liveried gondoliers, a status symbol equal to any modern supercar. The Rialto Bridge, the commercial heart of the city, was packed with merchants. For centuries, the Rialto was where East met West, where spices, silks, and precious stones were traded. By the 18th century, although Venice's merchant empire was in decline, this market remained one of the busiest in Europe. Here you could find fresh seafood from the Adriatic, produce from the mainland, and luxury goods from across the known world. The noise would have been deafening, a mix of Venetian dialect, foreign tongues, and the cries of street vendors. Piazza San Marco was, and is, the drawing room of Europe. In the 1700s, it was the hub of social life. Under these arcades, the first coffee houses were opening. Café Florian, opened in 1720, became the place to see and be seen. Here, nobles, artists, and adventurers like Casanova mingled, drank coffee, the new fashionable drink, and discussed politics, scandal, and art. Unlike today, there were fewer tourists and more locals, for whom this square was an extension of their own homes. But it was during Carnival that Venice truly came alive. For several months of the year, the city transformed into a stage. In the 1700s, mask-wearing wasn't just for parties, it was part of daily life during the carnival season. The bottom mask, with its distinctive jutting chin, allowed the wearer to eat and drink without revealing their identity. Under these masks, social barriers dissolved. Nobles could mingle with commoners, servants with masters. Gambling was rampant, the Rialto, the state-owned gambling house, was packed, and theaters were full every night. It was a city obsessed with pleasure, living as if there were no tomorrow. Inside the palaces lining the canals, Venetian nobility lived in Baroque splendor. These interiors were designed to impress, filled with frescoes by Tiepolo, gilded furniture, and intricate Murano glasswork. Life here was an endless round of balls, concerts, and dinner parties. Music was everywhere. Vivaldi taught at the city's orphanage, and every palazzo had its musicians. Noblewomen, famous for their wit and style, held salons where Enlightenment ideas were discussed. But behind the glitter was the reality of a republic in decline. Many noble families were impoverished, their fortunes drained by centuries of expense and shrinking trade revenues. Venice in the 1700s was a city on life support. Its once mighty navy, which had dominated the Mediterranean, was now a shadow of its former self. The Arsenal, the legendary shipyard that could once build a galley in a day, was largely idle. The political system was ossified, run by a closed circle of noble families resistant to change. The city's population was around 140,000, still one of Europe's largest cities, but it was no longer a power center. It had become a destination for the Grand Tour, a sort of 18th-century Disneyland for wealthy young Europeans who came for the art, the gambling, and the courtesans. The end came swiftly. In 1796, a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte swept through Italy. Venice, trying to remain neutral, found itself in his crosshairs. Napoleon had no sentiment for the old republic. He called it the drawing room of Europe and was determined to close it down. On May 12, 1797, the Great Council met for the last time in the Doge's palace. Under threat of French invasion, and facing popular unrest outside, the 1,000-year-old republic voted itself out of existence. The last Doge, Ludovico Manin, removed his corno, the ducal cap, and handed over the insignia of power. It was the end of the longest-lived republic in history, the end of an independence that had lasted since the Dark Ages. French troops entered the city. The famous bronze horses of San Marco, which the Venetians had stolen from Constantinople centuries earlier, were taken down and shipped to Paris. Jewels from the treasury were melted down, and the winged lion, the symbol of St. Mark, was chiseled off columns and buildings across the city. Trees of liberty were planted in Piazza San Marco, replacing the old symbols of Venetian power. The party was over. Carnivals were banned, masks outlawed, and the city entered a long period of foreign rule, first French, then Austrian. The Venice of the 1700s we see here is a city on the edge. Still magnificent, still full of life and art, but living on borrowed time. It's the world of Canaletto and Casanova, of Vivaldi and Tiepolo. A world that would vanish in just a few days in the spring of 1797. Today, we can only glimpse that lost world through the paintings they left behind, and through reconstructions like this one. A reminder of the city that was once queen of the seas, a place of unmatched beauty and decadence, before history finally caught up with it. This is Venice before the fall.